I'm Rabbi Alan Tufts at Temple Bethel here in Hollywood, Florida. Once again, Israel suffers the unjustified and hypocritical condemnation of the international community simply for defending herself. The blockade that Israel enforced earlier this week, in which 9 people needlessly perished, is both legal and necessary. Maritime law experts generally agree that Israel is within its legal right to turn away ships heading for Gaza, as Hamas continues to import tons of weapon-making material, which it turns into rockets that rain down on towns and villages in southern Israel. Simply put, a state of war exists between Hamas and Israel, which makes such a blockade a legitimate and reasonable tactic. Demonstrations over this incident in Istanbul and Ankara are, to say the least, hypocritical. When Turkish sovereignty was challenged by the Kurds in southeastern Turkey beginning in the 1980s, the Turkish government began a ruthless campaign to crush the Turkish rebellion, that happened to be led by a terrorist group called the PKK, the Kurdish Workers' Party. One of the most unreported stories from the 1990s was the death of over 32,000 Kurds at the hand of the Turkish military. Hundreds of villages were destroyed and hundreds of thousands of people were made homeless. The Kurds were fighting for an independent nation in just one area of Turkey, where they made up the majority. They never stated any intention to destroy Turkey. Now, in contrast, Israel, in the face of Islamic terrorism, struggles for its very existence. Hamas, with the help of Iran and Islamic extremist groups from all over the world, actively seeks the destruction of the State of Israel. Despite Israel's withdrawal from the Gaza Strip over 5 years ago and Prime Minister Netanyahu's agreement in principle to the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. All Israel demands from the Palestinians is to recognize Israel's right to exist and to renounce terrorism. Clearly, it was not the intention of the Israeli commandos to kill anybody when they landed on the deck of the Mavi Marmara. Earlier in the day, they peacefully diverted 5 other ships to the port of Ashdod in southern Israel. Now, the same cannot be said of the intentions of the Turkish Humanitarian Relief Foundation, known in Turkish as the Insani Yardım Vakfi, the IHH, the key organizers of the flotilla. Video recordings made by both the Israelis and the protesters clearly show that the protesters were lying in wait to attack the commandos when they boarded the ship. In the 1990s, Turkish authorities arrested members of the IHH for having connections with the terrorist groups that were leading the fight against Western interests in Afghanistan, Chechnya, and Bosnia. Now that the Turkish government has loosened its ties with the West and with Israel, and is allying itself with Syria and Iran and the rest of the Muslim world, it has adopted the IHH as some sort of poster child to show its solidarity with the Muslim world. Was the intent of the protesters on the Mavi Marmara to bring aid to their Muslim brothers and sisters in the Gaza Strip, or was it to provoke an incident in which the Israelis had no choice but to defend themselves with deadly force? A few days earlier, the protesters expressed their true intentions to Al Jazeera, saying that their, quote, destiny was Gaza or martyrdom. Israel offered them to allow all their genuine humanitarian aid to enter Gaza through Israel after being inspected for weapons. However, by attacking the Israeli commandos with baseball bats and iron rods and slingshots, they chose martyrdom instead. The Turkish outrage over this incident is beyond hypocrisy.